My Packers fans, it is time to grade this year's NFL draft that was hosted in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Let's get into it. Kenny C back here with you to break down and give my letter grade for the Packers draft class. My football fans, my Packer fans, if this is your first time watching this channel, you will want to subscribe because I bring you that energy every single video. I make it entertaining. I say things that make you want to comment in the comment section below and give me your remarks on anything and everything that I say, the good, the bad, the ugly. I want to hear it all. For my NFL fans, I'm going to also be making a more general draft video, my takeaways from it, the sleeper picks, the draft steals, all of that good stuff. I will be making a video on that and sharing my thoughts. For my Packers fans, this is the video for you, especially because this is where we give our letter grade. And I just want to say, for all those doubters that Green Bay was too small of a city to host the draft, oh man, were you wrong. 600,000 people turned out for 3 days of the draft. What a fantastic thing for the city of Green Bay. And you got to give credit to Mark Murphy, President and CEO. He will be retiring. This man has done a lot of great things for the Packers organization since he entered it in 2007. He brought the Titletown District here. He brought the draft here this year. 13 of the last 17 years, the Packers have made the playoffs. He gave us a smooth transition from the Aaron Rodgers era into the era that we now have with Jordan Love. Only 2 head coaches, only 2 GMs under his tutelage as the president. Shout out to Mark Murphy because he has done big things. The man is a legend, and when he got up to that podium and announced that pick, oh, was that a legendary moment. I wish I was there to feel the energy when the Packers faithful erupted with that first pick. Let's get into the weeds of it. 23 overall for the first time in 23 years. You knew the crowd knew it was coming. The Green Bay Packers select wide receiver Matthew Golden out of Texas. That pop from the crowd was just otherworldly. Matthew Golden. This was the pick that I wanted the Packers to make. I had them getting Derek Harmon because I didn't think they were going to go wide receiver. But they did it. When I watched the tape on this guy, it immediately jumped off the page, jumped off the screen, I should say. The explosiveness, the willingness to go up and get the football, the tough hands. This is a guy with excellent hands and a guy that the Packers need, because when you saw what they put together last year, 3rd in the league in drops, it was a rough going for the Packers wide receiver core. This is a guy with sure-handed hands. When I watched the tape against Michigan, against UL Monroe, against Georgia in that SEC championship game, you saw a guy who's hungry, who's going to go up there and get that ball. He's explosive off the line of scrimmage, elite route running. He's gotten comps to Greg Jennings with Greg Jennings' route running. 2006 second-round pick. I love the man. I love Greg Jennings. And if you're getting comps to him, you're looking pretty all right. He's a guy that can also play anywhere on the field for the Packers. At the X, the Z, and the slot. I love the pick. Great catchability, great catch radius, great catchability. Reed, I'd say it's going to be Jaden Reed, Golden, Dobbs, Watson, Wicks. Watson coming back off the ACL. Second time this guy's had a really big injury. He's battled injuries throughout his time here in Green Bay. I think that Golden can be that replacement for Watson. I love the guy, but when you bring in a man with 4.29 speed, a guy that had 987 yards receiving last year, 50 some odd catches, 9 touchdowns, average 17 yards per catch. This is what the Packers need, an explosive downfield threat for Jordan Love. You know how the Packers like to run their offense under Matt LaFleur. He's going to be a great piece for this offense. This was a grand slam pick for the Packers. I want to know what you guys think about the pick. Moving right on along to the second round, the Packers at the 54th pick take left tackle Anthony Belton out of NC State, a 3-year starter. They recognize that, hey, Rasheed Walker, Zach Tom, Sean Ryan, they're all going to be free agents after this year, so they got to figure that out. But in the meantime, let's get a guy who could be a stalwart offensive lineman for this line. The Packers are known to hit on their offensive line picks, so I trust Gutekunst here. They get a man in Anthony Belton, who was nicknamed by the coaching staff at NC State Escalade, because he's so big, but yet he moves so smoothly. And that is what I noticed on the tape. He moves very smooth for a guy who is 6'6", 335 pounds. He's got strong hands, good hand placement. When I watched the tape against Tennessee, going up against guys like James Pierce Jr., who's a first-round pick by the Atlanta Falcons, and Omar Norman Lott, who went to the Chiefs in the second round, he was pretty damn good against these two NFL caliber defensive linemen. James Pierce being an edge, Norman Lott being a defensive tackle. Belton held his own. He looked really good from what I watched. And this is a guy who can play all spots on the line. He can play left guard, left tackle, right tackle. This is a plug-and-play guy. This is a day one starter, and he's going to battle against Rasheed Walker for that left tackle spot. I would not be surprised if Belton got some burns, some games started this year. He gave up 3 sacks or less in each of his 3 years at NC State. And this is a pick in which the Packers now have a guy who can slot in anywhere, give them depth, give them versatility. He's got great power, great leverage. I want to know what you guys think about this pick as we move on now to the third round and who the Packers got in the third round. Now, before I get into who the Packers took in the third round here, I'll give you guys my grade, and here's why. I'll give the Packers a B+ for this draft, but I thought in the second round they could have waited on Anthony Belton. I thought they needed to address edge earlier on. Now, again, these guys are all prospects, so you never know who's going to be a stud and who's not, and who's going to be a draft steal in the later rounds. I just thought that positionally in the second round they could have went with Mike Green out of Marshall. Instead, the Baltimore Ravens make an ultimate Ravens pick and get an absolute dog in Mike Green, a guy that was mocked to go in the first round in a lot of people's mocks. I thought that would have been a steal for the pick that the Packers had at that spot in the second round. And I thought they could have went with Mike Green there and waited on Belton a bit. That's why they're not in my A range, because they didn't address the more urgent positions. They addressed wide receiver, which is huge, in the first round. But I thought they could have waited on getting an offensive lineman. This class is pretty deep. I thought they needed to get an edge. I know edge is also pretty deep, but edge and cornerback were the Packers' 2 top priorities, and defensive line, which they did address later on. But that's why I don't give them an A, because I thought that they could have went earlier on, second and third, in addressing edge and the cornerback. They did get a cornerback later on, and I'll talk about it. But that's why I give them a B+, and I want to know what your grade is for the Pack. What do you guys think? But now in the third round here, they get the ultimate gadget guy. They go for the more sexier pick here. Matt LaFleur is going to get a guy named Savion Williams, wide receiver out of TCU. That's 2 wide receivers in 3 rounds for the Packers, which was really cool to see. He will rock number 83. This is a man who in 2024 played everywhere. He had 84 snaps out of the backfield or as the quarterback in a Wildcat formation, 51 carries, 60 receptions as a receiver. He is 6'4", 222 pounds. So you are getting a stocky, beefy wide receiver who's not afraid to hit you, who has explosiveness and speed, and he runs with power. That's what I saw on the tape against Texas Tech and against Utah. A guy who hits the hole with conviction, who is fast enough to get around the edge if you get him in the Wildcat formation. This is a guy that the Packers are going to have a field day with. He's that Cordero Patterson 2.0. He's even, I make the comp to former Packer Ty Montgomery, albeit Montgomery didn't get the most burn with his time at the Green Bay Packers, but they ran him out of the backfield. He was a wide receiver as well. Like that, he was one of those gadget guys. They had him returning kicks. This is what Savion Williams can be. He forced 40 missed tackles last year. 40 missed tackles for a wide receiver / running back / put him on the kick return. You put him in the LaFleur system, and I think he's going to thrive. So this is one of the more sexier picks, as I mentioned, by the Packers here. And I think LaFleur is going to have a fun time. We got a jam-packed wide receiver room now. These are going to be guys, you're putting guys like Dontavian Wicks and Malik Heath on notice with this sort of pick and Savion Williams, and you add depth to the wide receiver room. This is going to be a dogfight coming up in the training camp. Moving on to the 4th round, I mentioned prior that the Packers I thought could have went edge in the 2nd round. Well, they addressed it here in the 4th round in getting Barron Sorrell out of Texas. Another Texas Longhorn. Golden and him were obviously teammates, so that's really cool to see. But Sorrell was an unsung hero and a leader on the number 3 ranked defense in the country for the Texas Longhorns. And power is the name of the game for Sorrell. When I watched him on tape, my takeaway immediately was that he's relentless. He is going to continue to come after you with a high motor. He is just relentless in his pursuit, whether that's of the quarterback or whether that's of the running back. This is a guy that plays with high energy. He's not the most productive in terms of the stats department, just 6 sacks last year, 49 pressures that did lead the team, that was the team high. He had 11 tackles for a loss. But when you look at his raw athletic score, his relative athletic score, he was a 9.3. That encompasses the NFL draft, the combine and the pro day, all of that stuff, the Senior Bowl. So that's a very high score for a big man. Barron Sorrell is a beast. I think that he was the top, by the way, he was the top lineman in the Senior Bowl as well. And when you look at the depth chart here, this is a guy who can slot in right behind Lucas Van Ness. Lucas Van Ness is being put on notice. On that left side of the D-line, you're going into your 3rd year, you got to make some noise. You got to be more productive, because when the Packers spent a 1st-round pick on you in 2023, you got to be that guy. You got to be that dog for this D-line that you were selected out of Iowa to be. But Barron Sorrell is hungry. He's licking his chops. I'm sure the man is primed and ready to go, and I'm sure we're going to see him get some reps in this Jeff Hafley defense. Moving right on along here to the 5th round at pick 159, the Packers address the depth need at linebacker behind Quay Walker, or he can line up on the line of scrimmage, which is what he did quite a lot, lined up off the edge for Oklahoma State. They get linebacker Colin Oliver. He broke his foot last year, so he only played in 2 games, so that's a bit of concern. Hopefully he can come back fully healthy and ready to go. But over his tenure with Oklahoma State, 23.5 sacks. He had 11.5 sacks in his first year, 134 combined tackles, and he plays with explosiveness off the edge. He's got some nice twitch to him. He plays fast. From what I watched, I really enjoyed at 6'2", 240, him and his ability to get off that quick and come after the quarterback. This is a guy who's going to have to fight for his right, because the Packers re-signed Isaiah McDuffie. You already got Quay Walker in there. When you look at the defensive line on the right side, Rashawn Gary's obviously a lock. Kingsley Enagbare had a good year last year with 4.5 sacks as that kind of rotational guy for the Packers. Well, now you throw in Colin Oliver. He's going to be another sort of depth move and rotational guy on the right side of the line. But ultimately, not a bad pick for the Packers in round 5. We move along to round 6. They really start to beef up this defensive front with depth and with guys that can hopefully make a big splash. In round 6 at pick 198, they get defensive tackle. They love their Georgia Bulldogs. Defensive tackle Warren Brinson out of Georgia. He was a 5-year vet in college. 6 sacks last year for him. 6'5", 315 pounds. This is a guy who told the Packers, I'm going to bring a big play. And I believe it, because when you look at the tape, he's battle tested. He played in 59 games in the SEC. He's got a 9.10 relative athletic score. And that combines, like I said, that encompasses their pro day, their combine. When you watch the film, the thing that I highlighted was that he's very shifty for his size. He is very shifty off the line of scrimmage. He's going to get in there and cause havoc for you. If you don't have quick feet as an offensive lineman, Brinson is going to bring it to you. He's going to take it to you. He's not afraid to hit you hard. He's great in the middle from what I watched, going up against the run, and in his pursuit of the quarterback. He's very shifty for a 6'5", 315-pound guy. We move right along to round 7. The Packers finally address at pick 237 finally addressed the need at defensive back with 3 Packers cornerbacks departing in free agency in Robert Rochelle, in Corey Ballantyne, and in the draft bust, Eric Stokes. And Jair Alexander, as I already mentioned, it's yet to be seen what happens with him. But this is a cornerback in Michael Robinson, who the Packers select out of Tulane. He's 5'11", 185. He had 32 tackles in his 1 year for Tulane with 2 interceptions. One of them he ran back for a pick 6. And what I liked about this guy is he is very fast. He's 4.42 40-yard dash. And when you look at what he did during his time at Furman, in 2022, he had 35 tackles. And in 2022 and 2023 combined, he had 5 interceptions. He also had a forced fumble. Opposing quarterbacks last year during his time at Tulane had a 46.8 completion percentage and a 52.8 passer rating. So Micah Robinson will lock you up. And what I noticed off the film with this guy is that he is a very aggressive tackler, and he is a very aggressive at the point of attack in coverage, going up and swatting the ball away or going up and making it hard for the wide receiver to bring down that catch. Very aggressive tackler from honing in on the run game or just in open field tackles. And that is a guy that the Packers need, someone that's going to wrap up and not be afraid to hit you. That's what Jeff Hafley likes. He likes short-handed tacklers, and I think that's what the Packers get here in Micah Robinson. And as we come down to the final pick in the Packers 2025 draft class, I also want to throw in there that the Packers went out and they signed as a free agent on a 1-year deal former New York Giant, former Arizona Cardinal, a top 10 pick in the 2020 draft in Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson. He's a hybrid player. He can play linebacker. He can play safety. Jeff Hafley and the Packers love their versatility, and I really like that move as well. So those guys are going to have to battle. Colin Oliver is going to have to get in there, and he's going to have to battle with that linebacker core. And there's not going to be no easy starts here for any of these Packers rookies. They're going to have to make a name for themselves, and that coincides perfectly with the other 7th round pick that the Packers made in this draft. At pick 237, they went out and they got left tackle John Williams out of Cincinnati. 6'4", 322 pounds, extremely bright young man. He was an aerospace engineer major. He started all 12 games at left tackle this past year. 85.2 pass blocking grade per Pro Football Focus, was 4th in the Big 12. 1 quarterback hit allowed in 823 snaps. He was a 5th year at Cincinnati. This is a man who made 27 starts in 52 games. And the Packers believe that he can play both tackle and guard. And when I watched the tape, the thing that stuck out to me is his quickness with his feet, which allows him to get really good leverage on opposing edges and opposing defensive ends, and really allows himself to get in the position to make a good block. He's very quick with his feet, which allows for a good anchor and really good leverage. And this is another depth pick by the Packers, another offensive lineman in the Packers farm system, if you will, that hopefully is going to succeed. And we're going to see Jordan Morgan really battle Rasheed Walker for that starting role, along with Belton, who the Packers got in the 2nd round. But all in all, I'm giving them a B+. Like I mentioned, I want to know what you guys give the Packers draft class. I also perhaps might go in and grade this class after the season and see how each of these guys have done. I want to know everyone's thoughts, from Packers fans to NFL fans in general. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Stay tuned for that overall general draft video, which I will be making very shortly. Subscribe to the channel because you won't want to miss it.